Welcome back, dear friends, in another exciting session of e-learning. And in today's class, we will discuss a very popular story, a critically acclaimed story, Roots by Ismat Chughtai. The story is written in the wake of Partition of India. After India got political independence in 1947, and we know it such a mass migration was there, the partition being on the basis of religion. Hindus families from earlier undivided India, that is now that became Pakistan, coming to India, and Muslim families from this new India migrating to Pakistan. There were so lot of bloodshed and cruelties. All these things make the background of this story. But Ismat Chughtai basically make this story on humanitarian grounds, as the title indicates, roots, Jadein, which if they are strong, they can bear all kind of storm like this of the political division of India. So we will discuss about this story, the summary of this story, and know about the main characters of this story in this presentation. Dear friends, before starting, we must know something about Ismat Chughtai, fondly known as Ismat Aapa. She is one of the most important figures of modern Indian literature, and in fact, Ismat Chughtai, as we see, is considered as the fourth pillar of modern Indian Urdu literature. And along with her, there are three more writers who, along with Ismat Chughtai, modernized the Urdu literature: Saadat Hasan Manto, Rajendra Singh Bedi, and the fourth one is Krishna Chandra. These four experimented with language, themes, and presented the contemporary issues in their works and stories. If we talk about Ismat Chughtai herself, she is associated with the progressive movement of writers, those who shared very progressive, radical, and liberal ideas and presented such in their literature, and that is why they were also very controversial during their times. She raised the issues of equality between man and women. Women, which were traditionally, especially in Muslim societies, were living in a rigid patriarchal society. She raised their demands, and the exploitation of the underdogs, another themes which was quite popular with the progressive association of the writers. Hypocrisy of organized religion, and that is why she was basically target of so much ridicule and hatred towards her own community. Her most talked about controversial work is a story Lehaf, which explored the intimate, or we can say lesbian, relationship between two women, and obviously you can understand, written in pre-partition time during 1941. Even today it is considered to be rather a taboo subject which nobody wants to talk about in open. Ismat Chughtai back in 1941 wrote about the lesbian relationship between two women, and it caused she become we can say a cause celebre. Everybody targeted her, everybody basically blamed her for bringing vulgarity into literature. If we talk about this particular story, Roots or Jadein, Hindi it is known as Jadein or Roots, it is the story of basically an old woman, an old Muslim woman, and her whose sense of belonging to her land. That is why Jadein is such deep that her bond to her religion. Religion is for her just you can say a thing of day, but the place where she has lived her all life, she has got married, she has brought children into this particular world, that place is her stronghold. She has her roots there, and she doesn't want to leave that place in the name of mere religion. The story was written in 1952, and the story explores how after the partition, this partition of India and Pakistan, the atmosphere of hatred between these two communities. So there was earlier, there used to be, it was not that they were living quite peacefully, but there were, we can say, harmony between these two communities. They have been living for almost 400 years together, and even in some areas areas there were very cordial relationship between these two communities, but this peace and harmony, it disrupted, it totally damaged after this partition on the lines of religion. Dear friends, it also shows, when it shows the negative light, in positive light it shows that how the bonds of humanity, they could not be completely severed by any political or social upheaval or change, and how in the midst of all kind of growing distrust and violence, some human ties, even when they are not familial ties, they are not religious ties, they are ties based on bonds, based on humanities, they prove stronger than the ties of caste, creed, religion, or sex or gender. So this is the beautiful message of this story. In fact, in the story we can say it is bonding between two families. As you can see, the two families is, one family is of the narrator. In this particular family there is the old Amma, or we can say the woman who is very much attached to her roots and her extended Muslim family. On the other side, living in their neighborhood is Dr. Roopchand's family, Dr. Sahib. Now after death of Amma's husband, he has taken responsibility of both families, and these both families share a very good rapport. They live in harmony, especially because the relationship goes back to 3 generations. And the narrator tells the story of a Muslim family, and the neighbor, their neighbors, the house they live in is just in front of this Hindu family. Both families have been living in this Hindu dominated area of Mewar, and with the houses facing each other. The relationship between these two communities is such, because of particular their clothing sense, their eating habits, they are so similar that it is not possible. Even there are common names shared by both communities, so there is very little to identify the difference between these two communities. They share so much cultural and social things. The question of Pakistan, when it is raised and when it becomes clear that a new nation will be formed in the name of religion for only for Muslims, it is when this talk started, it is even then it is a topic of debate only in the male members of the two houses. Rest people are not affected by these talks. Now, when the story opens, the narrator describes the tense situation after the partition. Now, Muslims have begun to migrate to Pakistan, and similarly, Hindu families are coming from Pakistan to India. Schools are closed because of fear of mob attacks, and children, as they have now, they need not to go to school. They are creating nuisance, they are doing all their mishaps because they are totally unaware of the gravity of the situation, and so the whole day they are busy in their usual childish games and tiffs, and this makes the women of the house totally disturbed because they want some peace, but these children are creating all kind of nuisance. They can't be sent outside to play because of the atmosphere, and the Muslim locality is living now in a constant threat. But in fact, they are very much scared for their lives, and they are living under heavy police supervision. There is always talk about that you should not leave your houses after evening. The narrator also points out how rumors play their role, and both sides of the borders, that how people are killed of one community by the other community, and they played a foul part in making the atmosphere more edgy and full of anxiety. So this whole, even when both families are living peacefully, these rumors are fueling them hatred. most Muslim families have already crossed the border. A few have remained India. They are still undecided because they are feeling that they are quite safe here. They have their business establishment here, so they don't want to go there. And the narrator's family is such family which is still stays in India. Now, the big brother of narrator, Bare Bhai, when he goes to Ajmer on a visit and he comes back, he has listened to such stories of atrocities on Muslims that as soon as he returns, he asks everyone to get ready for the migration, and he says that the situation has become now totally out of control for the minorities. The situation becomes more tense when children from their family get involved into a fight with the children of Dr. Roopchand's family. In the earlier times, when it was not such the case, the children played together, and whenever there were fight between these two, it was resolved by one family or the other without making any distinction. But now, because of this particular atmosphere of mistrust, nobody wants to have this kind of situation, and Bade Bhai also feels that they have to move also from here. The two families which have been close to each other for such a long time, they even the partition has not weakened the strong bond between these two families. But now there are differences. It doesn't mean that they don't have their difference of opinions and ideologies between these two parties. There are people from narrator's house who support Muslim League. There are persons from Dr. Roopchand's house who supports Congress Seva Dal, and they both have very conflicting ideologies. But it is more like healthy banter between two opposing parties. Even though the new generation is strongly inclined towards their particular ideologies, the members enjoy seamless mutual affection. So always there is something going, cooked meals and other things shared. Still the common things is there to be enjoyed and to get together. Abba, narrator's father, and Dr. Roopchand witness their debates and smile over their political innocence, that how naive their children are. They are behaving like the puppets at the hands of those who have power in their control. Now, the women of both families, they are totally untouched by these external events. They spend their times talking about dowries, daughter, season of pickles, and how to home remedies for the sickness. They still carry that particular intimacy of relationship, and for them there has been no division like this thing. Whenever any child from the narrator's house fell sick, the mother of the narrator, or the Amma, she always summoned Dr. Sahib with full authority, as if she has right over the Dr. Sahib, and it was quite a funny scene at the house. She would prepare a special meal for the Dr. Sahib, and Dr. Sahib's wife, she would always chide him, no, don't go there for food. And Dr. Sahib said, if I don't eat there, how can I get my fees? So this is the level of camaraderie, the level of comfort, level of relationship bonds which they two share. So Dr. Saab always went there with 2 or 3 of his own grandchildren, and they enjoyed great meals. If by chance the mother, the Amma, the aged one herself fell ill, it was quite a funny scene for everyone. They both indulge in, we can say, a kind of bantering, and there is a naughtiness between them, just like between a brother-in-law and a sister-in-law. She always saying, you want to touch my hand, and Dr. Saab say, you invited me. Such we can say a great level of bond these two families shared, and these things were the proof of the intimate bond between two families. The narrator further recalls how Dr. Roopchand was always there whenever it was the time for delivery of anyone of the child. Once again, it was a great comic scene. In fact, he would take the charge of being in authority, being a doctor himself, and would push everybody outside the Janana room. And the old women, they will shriek, they will cry that, oh, how could a man enter such place? But he could not be stopped from being taken care and there to enter the room along with narrator's Abba. Amma would chastise them continuously for not following the decorum and entering the room of a lady in a labor. When the father of the narrator passed away, Dr. Roopchand assumed more responsibility towards the family. He became the father figure of the family, involved in the every decision of the family. He was consulted in all matters, whether trivial or important, and his say would have been considered with full respect. Whether it was if some construction has to be made in the house, somebody has to be sent to study, some or other kind of issues. This shows that Dr. Roopchand was like a mentor, like the full responsible person for the family. Thus, the two families shared great bonds of friendship, and this friendship passed from one generation to another. However, the partition changed everything. There we can feel there came an invisible cloud of mistrust, which basically covered all these relationship. For example, when the younger brother of narrator comes home after a brawl, earlier he would have been chastised, he would have been given punishment, but now he was hailed as a hero, a warrior who has done something heroic. So this shows that yes, there was now mistrust between these two families. Now only Amma remains a mute spectator looking at these things, sensing that the chasm between the two communities and these two families are getting wider and wider, and with each passing day she become more restless witnessing these kind of things. As the refugees from both sides begin to arrive with the stories of torture, the situation became more tense, and the members of family start to mistrust each other. And now the narrator's family finally decide to migrate to Pakistan without any delay. But as soon as Bade Bhai try to pack the luggage of his mother, the Amma, she says, orders him not to touch her trunk. She has decided that she won't go anywhere. Shocked, the other family members ask her if she is mad, still talking about staying here, looking at what is happening to the people of their community. Has she lost all her sense? And Amma clearly refuses that she won't go from there. She won't give in to any of their argument and insist neither she will go with them to the western Pakistan nor she will go to the eastern Pakistan to some of their relative. She will remain there where she have lived her whole life. The family tries every sort of argument to convince her, some taunting her that in her age what does she want, some trying to scare her of the consequences if she stay here alone, some showing her to promises of the land, that how cheap wheat is available there, how their land is the land of their own religion, and some cajoling her with emotional appeal how she would live without her grandchildren. But Amma remains adamant and asks them if they want to go, if they have decided to go, they can leave, but she would stay here only. Gradually, the family begins to finalize their packing. They still have the hope that when Amma would see them leaving, she would automatically give in and go with them. Amma watches like a stone with blank eyes. She is still not able to grasp what is happening before her own eyes. Is these her own family which is leaving her the roots of their place? She is not able to understand what is their concept, the idea of my land, which land they call my land. If when she was born, raised up, got married, gave birth to children, 10 children here, and after staying here for whole life, if even then she can't call this land her own land, how can just going somewhere can make that land her land? She is not able to understand this particular theory. Amma stays at this particular place, and like a banyan tree, it is not possible to move a banyan tree because of its deep roots. Similarly, Amma has deep roots in this soil of India, and she says, I won't budge from here. She is once the trolley arrived to take the other family members along with their luggage away, Amma she can feel the heightened beat of her heart, and she looks at the house across the street, the house of Dr. Roopchand, that he would come and intervene and stop these people from going from there. But there is no movement from the house across the street. The family departs, leaving behind dust and desolate Amma, and now they have gone. Now, Dr. Roopchand emerges from his house. He is looking in the direction of the lorries, and he is feeling guilt for not being able to take any action, not being able to stop them from going from there. When everyone has left, Amma feels a sudden void. There is a blank space, and she is scared to look at this empty house, which was only a few moments ago full of the noises of voices of her grandchildren and family. She feels giddy. She is not able to retain her ground, take support of a pillar, as the memories of her golden days she spent here, these memories start to pour down. She looks at the room where she sat the day she came here as a young bride. Now, when with a heavy heart, she remembers how she gave birth to all her children, total 10 in number, in this very room. Not able to stand here anymore, she moves to the next room. But still there is no respite. Even in the next room, there is a different set of memories for her. Here, her husband has breathed her last after living for more than 50 years with her. Their married life has come to an end. She has always put an earthen diya here, but now this room is black, dark and desolate, and she is not able to once again able to bear the ache, the pain of this emptiness. She slumps down on the floor, and she herself becomes just like a corpse. Dr. Roopchand, frustrated, paces up and down his veranda, cursing everyone for their inability to stop the situation, to try to, they all were failed to make this happen. He gazes at the house across the street with agonized looks, and finally, after some time, he gets into the car, is speeding away somewhere. As the night arrives and darkness covers everything, Dr. Roopchand's wife, she goes to the narrator's house with 2 plates of food. She knows that Amma must have not eaten anything, so 2 plates, with 2 plates she goes there. The 2 ladies, the aged ladies, they sat beside each other. None of them is able to speak a single word because they are full of such intense emotion, and even the food remain untouched. Sometime later, the Dr. Roopchand's wife returns to her home. As the night darkens, Amma once again alone begins to feel helpless, totally empty of her existence, and thinking about her sons and daughters, where they would have reached. Are they safe? Were they have been attacked? She is constantly plagued by the fear of their security, as she knows that how dangerous is the condition outside. There are kids, there are pregnant women and sick among them, and she feels very much worried about their future. Muttering her worries and wandering in the empty rooms, she finally gets exhausted and slumps down on the floor. In her heated state of mind, she imagines a violent mob knocking at the door. There is a continuous knocking at the door. Horrified, she begins to remember the story she has heard, how even the old, the women have been dragged by the hair by the violent mob of the other community of the Hindus. They treated Muslim, and Muslim how they treated Hindus, and she realizes that her last time has also come. There is a sound of loud banging at the door, and she thinks that her final time has come. Then she feels a faint light coming and some distant voices. Suddenly, the voices seems quite familiar, as if her eldest son have been calling her. Still in a daze, she thinks that she is hearing these noises from the other world. She must have died, and she is hearing these voices from the earth, and she is somewhere in other world. Suddenly she finds her own family member touching her, calling her name, endearing voices. Yes, she realizes it is not the dream. They all are really here. Dr. Roopchand is standing nearby and speaking in his usual flirting manner. He is telling her, "Where is my fees? I have brought your family back, so you have to give my fees this time." Amma, she has nothing to do. She has nothing to give to Dr. Roopchand, but yes, the most precious gift, and it is the gift of her pure, pious tears with which she pays her gratitude, shows her gratitude to Dr. Roopchand for bringing back the family, as Dr. Roopchand has ensured the family of their security, of their safety, and has brought them back with this promise that they don't need to go anywhere. He himself would take care of their safety. Thus, dear friends, the story shows the pain one feels when one is uprooted from one's own land where one has lived all one's life, and the deep roots of faith and love, they can bridge all the chasm between people belonging to different communities, caste and religion. It is the roots. If they are deep, no storm can uproot any tree. So friend, this was all in this particular story. I hope you are able to understand it. You were able to get the main points down. This is a very important story, and you must prepare it accordingly. We will soon meet with another lesson in this exciting e-learning sessions. Thank you, dear friends.